Namaste and welcome. And remember, we always have to remember what it means. The divine in me recognizes the divine in you. The divine in you recognizes the divine in me. Because this is spiritual practice. What else is there? You know, and spiritual practice and science, I don't know why they say it's all different, because I see it so clearly. Science talks about everything is consciousness. Spirit says everything is divine. So what is the difference? Words, you see? And yogis should not, we as yogis or people who go on the spiritual path, need not to confuse the words with the truth. They're just words. This is why the most important aspect of spirituality is to experience it for yourself. You know, and how do you experience it for yourself? By going within, by understanding the state of your mind, what causes all your obstacles, as Laurie asked me to speak about today, all the obstacles, what stops you from knowing who you really are. You know, we all know, I mean, everybody in this room that is here knows that we are looking for the higher self or God or the divinity or whatever you want to call it, or universal cosmic consciousness. It's just words. What is important is life is very short, and it is important to understand that you can study as many words as you want. You cannot find truth, real truth there. Where the truth lies is within your very own heart. And the work where it lies is in your very own body. So you have this body, which is an instrument, and then you have the mind, which belongs to this earth actually, because all your thoughts, if you really think about it, are connected with your children, your home, your shopping, whatever you're doing in life, the next thing you're doing. And then what happens is when your body is gone, what are you left with? And this is the study of yoga: body, mind, and spirit. We're very good with the body, right? Everybody's very concerned with the body. The mind sometimes gets us into so much trouble, which is what we're going to talk today about. And the spirit is the purity, the consciousness that is so neutral, it just watches it all. And that is our backdrop. That's who we really are. That consciousness that just watches it all. And the work we're doing as yogis is to connect. And what stops us from connecting? Our thoughts. Crazy thoughts. So Sri Patanjali, in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, in Sutra 30, Book 1, talks about the obstacles, and he lists them, and I have many talks on the obstacles. I've done it here with Laurie as well, and he lists them as disease, dullness, doubt, carelessness, false perception, laziness, falling from ground gain, and failure to reach firm ground. I'm not going to talk about that today because I've done it 1,000 times. So I'm going to talk about your mind stuff today, the work that is to be done. So the different states of mind are your obstacles. Why is everybody here? What do you hope to find? It's peace, right? Would you agree? Happiness, peace, to enjoy your life. So that's the goal. What stops the mind from reaching that goal? So let's talk about the mind stuff. Because the whole of the Yoga Sutras is all about mind stuff. Sutra 2 and Sutra 3. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha tada drastuhe swarupe vastanam. What does that mean? When you learn to restrain the mind, the sea abides in its own true nature. The thoughts, we call it vrittis. It's a lovely word. It feels like lots of worms for me. Lots of thoughts. And restraint is not repression. You know, as yogis, sometimes we're very hard on ourselves. Why haven't I got it? Why can't I do it? No, that's not the way forward. You have to work with your mind as if you love it. well, you know, like a child. Sometimes a child is naughty. You discipline the child. You're strict with the child. But if you start screaming at the child and pointing fingers, that child will end up traumatic, lost, and fearful for the rest of their life, right? And many people, many adults have been treated like that by their parents. So there's no peace in their life because they believe that's who they are, and that's not the truth. So when we are working with our minds as yogi, we have to be patient, non-judgmental. We have to work from a place of witnessing your thoughts. And then the second place you have to work from is your ego. Okay, now this is a big problem. We have an ego so we can be individuals, thank God. So each one of us has an ego. But when our ego becomes arrogant or all about I, me, and mine, watch it. You will suffer. So the first state of mind we're going to talk about is the restless mind, okay? So when you try to meditate, and this is called Kshipta, you don't need to know, okay? It's the restless mind. And why does the mind become restless? Watch this. I really want you to go home and watch when your mind becomes restless. It's normally a desire that you want, something you want. I want this to happen. Why isn't this happening? And because you want it and it's not happening, you get disturbed by it. So when you try to meditate, okay, you're going to try and sit there. And you can sit there for 3 hours if you like. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to make a difference. Why? Because those 3 hours, your mind will still be going into those things. In fact, it's going to be thinking more about those things because you haven't sorted it out. You still want them, you want them, you want them. And then you get disturbed by them. So although the body is still, the mind will not help you to get to that state of peace. So it's really important to understand this. So if your mind is restless, we call it, it comes from the guna rajas. What is rajas? You know, we are all built of different energies. And in science, we say we're built up of atoms, protons, neutrons, and electrons. In yoga, we call it the guna, the 3 qualities of nature. All nature, including us. We fluctuate with these 3 energies. Rajas is activity, a lot of activity, a lot of doing, a lot of wanting, and a lot of wanting for me rather than wanting for, of course I want this for me, but at the same time, may it benefit others too. It's not personal. It's a desire for a better world or a better family or a better home or just to make your environment happier. Because when your environment is happier, you are happier. But if you are miserable, your environment will be miserable. So nobody can make you miserable if you choose to be peaceful. Okay? So then you start watching this. Why is my mind restless? Because I'm wanting that home, or I'm wanting so much money, or I'm wanting this car, I'm wanting to be beautiful, I'm wanting to be rich, I'm wanting to be successful, I'm wanting fame. Is there anything wrong with wanting any of these things? Absolutely not. But when they take you over and control you, you suffer. That's all. There's nothing wrong in anything people do in life. There's nothing wrong with your mind. There's nothing wrong with your thoughts. But really, as you think, so it becomes. So if you think a car is going to make you happy, having a Porsche or whatever it is, or yes, it'll make you happy for a little while. But guess what happens to you when you get it? Attachment. I got it. Nobody scratch it. Nobody touch it. Don't make it dirty. Don't crash it, you know. Oh my God, so you bought this car that makes you so happy, does it? Or has it made you only worry more? And then you park it on the street that is really busy. Then your mind, instead of enjoying the afternoon coffee with a friend, is thinking, it's constantly going, it's restless. Hope nobody scratches my car. Okay? So this is the state of the mind, not only with the car, with people we love. When we start to possess them, they belong to us. And this is what stops us: jealousy, fear, jealousy, is my partner, really trustworthy? Is he or she with me? What's happening? Oh, I saw him talking to another woman. Oh, I saw her talking to another man. Hello? This is all restless, right? There is no peace in a mind like this. And so what happens? There's doubt in that mind, there's fear in that mind, and then if you lie a lot because you want people to like you, and this happens a lot, by the way, and we don't even realize it. I mean, so many people who lie to themselves become something they're not because they think people will like this other version of them that is not them. So they're constantly lying to be approved of. They can never be themselves. How can they find peace in such a mind? If you're constantly making up stories, right, about yourself, no, what happens when you go to your bed? You don't remember which story is true anymore. You don't remember, because if you speak the truth, you always remember, because the truth is the truth is the truth. So it's really good to be truthful. You never get caught, you're clean, and if somebody's not happy, what can you do? You don't mean to hurt anyone, you're just being absolutely truthful with what you need, not meaning to hurt anyone. And when the mind is not bombarded with, I want this, or I want this, or I'm worried about this, I'm not fearful about this, what happens? It's quiet, isn't it? So the obstacle then, watch the restless mind, all right? And then ask yourself, what is causing this restlessness? What is it that's causing it? And be very truthful. Am I fearful of losing something? Am I truthful to myself, what I want to be and how I want to live my life, what I really want to do with my life? Am I lying? Am I trying too hard? Am I forcing things? Am I trying to control the world, to make the world to be what I want it to be? Because you can try all your life and you're never going to succeed. It's not ours to control. Am I trying to change somebody so they can be exactly what I want them to be? Again, losing case. You can never do that. You're trying so hard to do all those things that you can never do. Can you imagine how horrible to live in a mind like that? It's horrendous. And then you get angry with yourself. I'm meditating, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing all these things. Why can't I get there? Why can't I get there? Ask, look, the truth is painful sometimes, so painful. And sometimes you have to make lots of sacrifices in order to live the truth, many sacrifices. But in the long run, it pays off. As the Bhagavad Gita says, what is nectar in the beginning can end up poison in the end. What is poison in the beginning can end up nectar in the end. So, of course, when you try to discipline yourself, I'm going to work with my monkey mind, it can seem like poison. Why? Because it requires discipline. It requires you to make a commitment, to commit yourself. Why do people avoid this? I keep asking why. When you want peace, why would you avoid it? Oh, Nalanie, because I'm so busy, but you make time to brush your teeth. You make time to go to the hairdresser. You make time to go do everything else, to the gym, to that, and that's all body. Why don't you want to make time for you, your spirit, your soul, that which gives you peace? Why do you make excuses? And the reason I found out is lack of willpower. The lack of willpower. So how do you build up willpower? you train, like you train in the gym for your body, you train your mind. And we have a practice in the Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali called Pratyahara, the fifth limb of the 8 limbs of yoga. It means sense withdrawal. And what are your senses? You all know, a sense of seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, right? So it's all these things that drive us outside. You hear, oh, you know, I had a really nice time yesterday at this event. So sorry you didn't come. And then the person's mind goes, da, 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 why didn't I come? Next time I won't miss it, da, da. They call it FOMO today, right? Fear of missing out. Sense control, okay? So these things drive us to all these thoughts. So Sri Patanjali tells us, okay, work on your sense control. So start first with physical things. It's much easier than starting with emotional things, all right? Because emotion is deeper. So when I first went on this path, I started practicing with food, right? Food that I love, Cadbury's dairy milk. I used to have a bar a day, which was terrible for me because I was an asthmatic. But I was lucky because when I was young, I didn't put on weight till menopause came. So I could eat a bar a day, but it wasn't so good for my lungs, right? So I thought, okay, what can I give up? What do I really love to eat? And that was a bar of dairy milk a day. So I decided the first month I was going to allow myself to have only a bar on Saturday. I wasn't too strict because I know myself. If I'm very strict on myself, I rebel. I was always a rebellious person even when I was young. So I don't want me to rebel. You see, I saw my weakness. So you have to see a weakness. And I say, if I say 1 month, I'll fail. I'll fail. But I'll say 1 a week, I can do. So I started doing that. And of course, you get really happy when you achieve it the first week. Then when you achieve it the second week, you get really even happier. I've done it. When you've done the 4 weeks, you find that you don't even think that you want it on the following Saturday. In fact, you can do without it, totally. And then it's not controlling you. You are controlling it. Now, if I feel like I'll have 1 or 2 and it doesn't even make a difference if I don't. But I'm in control of that chocolate. Whereas before, that was my dairy milk, and I didn't get my bar today. Crazy, I want a piece of chocolate to get disturbed. Nalanie, are you for real? Do you know? This is what I used to say, are you really for real? And then that was a really encouraging practice, and it made me feel really good. So now let's go to something that really matters to me, more than food. It's my books. I loved reading. And every time we went to London, you know, we had a shop and we used to go buying. My husband would say, where would you like to go? Oh, bookshop. Waterstones. I'd stay there for hours. My suitcase, come back with books. Because we didn't have good bookshops in Gibraltar in those days, and the frontier was closed. So, all books. So, okay, I got so many books piled up in cupboards, and I've read up most of them. Give away your favorite books. And there were books that I got from the ashram in those days. Mail was slow from America to Gibraltar. And so I had all the books that I ordered from my master, To Know Yourself, Beyond Words, the Living Gita, and Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And I started giving them away, ordering more from the States, giving them away to people. And the first one I gave away, I remember shaking. Oh, what if I don't read that book? It's gone forever. But you know what, many years later, when we started the yoga center, we ordered so many for the center. So I could have any book I wanted. So, but that to me at that time was difficult for me. Other people find clothes or shoes or whatever it is. Everybody's different, right? That was me. And then the next step, done. Emotion. What emotion got to me that I didn't admit? And that's when the ego comes up. It doesn't like to accept its own faults. And I looked, and I never believed that I had this quality. But I did. It was jealousy. But jealousy towards what? Very intelligent people. Women especially. That were very intelligent. Because that was my wish, to be so intelligent. And then I thought, that's Nalanie, these feelings are making you uncomfortable and judging these wonderful teachers. For me, they were teachers, right? Smarter than I am. Go learn from them. So that's exactly what I did. I started meeting people like Silta, who knew all about nutrition and food, and inviting swamis home so they could teach me more about spirit, so I could learn, so I could grow. And guess what? The more I was so grateful for them, the jealousy disappeared. It disappeared. And also I learned one thing with the yoga practices, right? You can never know everything. Even in this life, if I read 1 book a day or 3 books a day, I could never learn everything there is to learn. And it didn't really matter. It wasn't important anymore. So reading also, I lost the attachment for it. When I have time, I read. And I mostly read now if there's new things coming out so I can share with people. Otherwise, I can't be bothered. I prefer quiet time and meditating. But for my students, I get excited because it's a modern world and people like to know about new scientific discoveries, like, on neuroscience, where they're proving that meditation works. Sri Patanjali taught me that years ago. But for the modern listener, they need to know that. For my time, it was a different kind of listener. In this world now, it's a different kind of listener. People change, so you have to adapt for them. Okay, so are you getting the picture? So Pratyahara builds up your willpower. And then as you start, the emotion, like I said, is deeper. And then for people who have addictions, that's even deeper. Addiction to money, addiction to their health. There are lots of people that I meet, I realized that are hypochondriacs. They're so scared even when they get a cold. I'm really quite amazed, highly intelligent people. Now am I getting cancer? Am I getting this? Doctors, what is wrong with you? The more you see the doctor, the more sicknesses you find. The more sicknesses you find. And so, and they look at me and say, but I can't help it. What if ultimately we're all going to die? Don't tell me that. So that's another thing you have to look into, fear of death. Fear of death. It's a reality we all have to face. There's nothing to fear. And when you become in touch with your spirit through your spiritual work, you really get stronger. And by itself, you don't have to struggle. As you grow in this path, by itself the fear leaves you. Because the more connected you become, the more you realize consciousness never dies. So you are never going to die. Never. Never. And science today itself says energy has no beginning, it has no end. It just transforms into another thing. So the energy in us will never die. We just transform. Okay, so nothing to be scared of. A new adventure. So this is Pratyahara, and this is building up your willpower. So the restless mind stops you. What else stops you? A dull mind. A mind that is not inspired, that just wants to laze around, too comfortable. You're just comfortable in your little world, and you just, no. And COVID has done this to many people, all right? It has done this to many people. They've just got used to that small world and they're scared to go out. So what's the next step? Depression. Because we as human beings, we need community, we need people, we need adventure, we need to learn, we need to grow in this body. But then we got too comfortable in our small world where everything is so safe. We become deadlocked, just locked up. And this is what we call tamas. A mind that is lazy, dull, locked up, arrogant, and only wants to eat, and maybe all day in the TV, or just looking. And this kind of mind creates a lot of trouble, because it's actually very bored, very arrogant in a small, dark place. So it will look for problems everywhere and blame everybody. Now, if you have a lazy mind and you're constantly looking for problems, constantly gossiping about people, you're not inspired, you're bored with life, so using everybody to entertain you. And this is a really dangerous place to be in, because people who are tamasic also meditate. But they get nowhere, because the mind is so blocked, and they're constantly noticing faults in people. So you have yogis who will come to a room, and sometimes you have teachers like that, and they don't do much all day. They give a class, and they notice everybody's faults. And the students end up wrecked, because they feel they're never good enough. It's like, really? Is that what your teacher makes you feel? Why do you go to such a class? People do that. They do that. I don't know what's wrong with us. We sometimes we're so desperate to find peace that we'll go to anybody to just find our peace. Even when we see something is wrong, just because 10,000 people go there doesn't make it right. You know, this is what our human brain is for. Is this enlightenment? Or is it destruction? So, our job really as spiritual people is just to live a clean, truthful, peaceful, easeful, useful life. And wherever we are, to raise that energy so humanity can benefit. And we start at home, in our homes. If we're kind in our homes, we're gentle in our homes, if we're truthful in our homes, if we're loving in our homes. We can only be those things if we are loving to ourselves. So this is your first home. Look after this home, and everything else will take care of itself. Love thy neighbor as yourself. So the dull mind will also stop you from progressing. So the next state of mind is called a dissipated mind. A mind that most yogis have today when you start practicing. You start 5 minutes peaceful, 5 minutes da-da-da-da, 5 minutes peaceful, 5 minutes da-da-da. This is the process, don't worry about it. If you're in the dissipated stage, know that already you are starting to get some willpower, you are starting to get some strength. Keep at it. And then because you want to get to the next stage, which is ekagrata state. And what does that mean? One-pointed, where you can focus on one thing. So you can focus. Let's say your goal is peace. Peace is something that you can't touch. We call it a tanmatra, an energy. It's an energy, okay? So how do you find that? So for me, I used a photograph of my master to start, and a candle in front of him, because the flame represents knowledge. My master represented love, kindness, integrity, all the things that I wanted to be: truthfulness, service to the world, you know. So I focused on those qualities, and this helps to make the mind one-pointed. You start with this in a dissipated mind, and when the mind becomes one-pointed, you start to the master goes, the candle disappears, and you just quiet. You can focus. Now, this focusing, as householders, all of us have homes, all of us have jobs, all of us have to pay bills, right? So how do we apply this one-pointedness in our life? Because we have work to do, right? Sometimes we have projects, and projects means the mind has to focus on the projects. So this is what happens to your mind. If you have a project, Because you've been meditating, focused on that piece for a long time, what happens? You have to, your next project, you'll be able to focus on it 100%. You see, whenever we start projects or we start things, we focus on it and then the mind goes here, the mind goes there. You have a job, for example. Your job is to, let's say you go into a place, your job is to file all these papers every day. When you start filing, then the mind goes home, the mind goes there. So of course that job, instead of taking 2 hours, will take you 8. And then you go frustrated, irritated, because it seems like never ending. Again, the same thing, day after day after day. It's nothing to do with the job, it's to do with your mind, right? So by learning to meditate and focus, what happens to the mind? You got a job, I've got a file. So I've got 2 hours. Boom, you do the job. It's done. And in fact, if your mind is so focused, you'll do it really quickly because it's no longer complaining. I don't really like this job, I should be doing this, I should be, you see, it stopped. It just, I gotta do this job. You learn to focus. And the more you focus on a job, the better you become at it. You just get really good at it, that you can do it in a very short period of time. So, ekagrata leads you to what we call samprajñata samadhi, which is a state of mind that you live with that is very focused while you're living, and life becomes easier when you focus. Even when you go shopping, you'll look at what you like, you'll know what you like. That's how I shop. Les always laughs. I go to the door of the shop, I scan. If there's anything that I see that could interest me, I go. And otherwise I go, no, not this shop. He said, how do you know? I said, I just scanned it. I don't need to waste 20 minutes looking through all the shelves. I scanned it. I know what catches my eye. And of course, then you save so much time shopping. You don't waste time going in. Maybe I'll find it here, which I used to do in the old days. Or maybe I'll find it in this. No. So how do you know? So I just know. Because you get focused. You know what you like. Okay? So much easier in life. So much easier. So much time saved. You know? And so that's how it helps you in your ordinary life, these practices. And then when you're sitting with your kids, you're sitting with your children, you're talking to them. It's quality time. Now, how many kids say, Mom, you're really not listening to me? Or Dad, you haven't heard a word? I said, yes, I have. No, you haven't. You've been thinking something else. I don't know how many times children tell me. My parents are sitting with me, but they're not hearing me. And I say to them, is that true? No, we're really listening. And the child says, no, it's not true. And I said, do you think your child will lie? So this is the type of thing that will happen. You will start to be, because you're not desiring to be anywhere else or doing something else. This is where you are, the power of now, Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. This is where I am now. And then having, because you've trained the mind, you now made it easy for your mind to be where you are. Instead of wasting time thinking I need to be here or there or whatever. Okay? So it really helps you in life. It's such a great gift. I remember when, many years ago, when I first started meditating on my own, the first 5 years I never taught, I never wanted to be a teacher. I was working in a shop in a business, and I also was teaching a dance school. But I wanted something for my brain. My kids had gone to boarding school. And I was like, because Gibraltar was very small, and I wanted them to be international, and so did they. I was very lucky. They loved boarding school. Anyway, so I was like, I need something for my brain. So I took English literature A-levels for fun, night school. I went once a week, and they were doing 11 books for 2 years, but I just went in the second year. I told the teacher, Anne Gongley, I don't need to take an exam. I've been to university. I'm doing it to train my mind. So it gets involved in other things and not just, because also all day spiritual, you become a little bit dull. I thought I needed to do something else with this brain, because I was meditating, reading spiritual books, right? But I wanted to know a little bit about the earth, and the earth I live on, the world I live in. And so anyway, I took it up. And after 9 months, she said to me, why don't you take the A-levels? with these guys, you know, all these young kids, right? There were about 8 in our class because they were doing A-levels. And I said, no, I don't really want to do exams at my age. And she said, no, you just do it for fun. So I said, they've had 2 years, I've had 1 year. Doesn't matter. So I said, okay, I'll do it for fun. Made her so happy. So, and then, you know, we were studying T.S. Eliot. Have any of you studied T.S. Eliot? Okay, anyway, he mentions in his poem, The Wasteland, which is an epic, it's 5 or 6 pages. He mentions the Upanishads, and he actually finishes the poem by Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, and he talks about giving, and he talks about different things. It's so long ago now, I don't remember, but the 3 important things of life, right? And that's how he finishes the poem. So the teacher said, so I thought, oh wow, I'm studying the Upanishads, I really understand this symbolism behind this poem. And so she said to all of us, The Wasteland comes out every year in the exam paper. You don't need to study any of his other poems, because The Wasteland in itself is like a book. So I thought, great. So go sit in the exam place, right? That morning, what am I doing? I meditate. I'm still meditating, but I'm using it now for my exam work. I'm seeing all the little quotes that I've memorized all those days, and they become really clear. Because obviously, I can't meditate on anything else with an exam coming up in 2 hours, can I? And in fact, for those 2 months, I couldn't. So I focused on the literature, and it's also very elevating. So focused on that, remember all the quotes. Did all the questions came to the T.S. Eliot? Did they get The Wasteland? No. It was totally the other poem. I didn't panic. First thing I told myself, I'm doing this for fun. It's not about your ego. So that took like a second in my brain. So, what do you know really well? The Wasteland. What do you know very well? The Upanishads. Okay, right girl. If it's wrong, it's wrong. So I started writing as I could not talk about this poem without talking about the wasteland. So I just made it all up, added everything I knew about spirituality and fear and anger into it. Okay, then finished the exam. I told the teacher, sorry, I don't mean to disappoint you, because she loved me, my teacher loved me, but I think I'm going to give you a D, but I'm really sorry. I don't want to, spoil your reputation. It's my fault. Went to Hong Kong on holiday. My husband calls me up. He said, guess what? I picked up your A-level results. I said, oh, I failed, right? And he goes, no, you're the only one who got an A. And that's how meditation helped me in a daily life. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? You don't separate it from daily life. People think if you're spiritual, you have to just do one thing only. And how can you do one thing only if God put us on this earth and we as human beings chose this life because we wanted to do those different things, right? To experience life in its fullest, not to judge what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, But then once I had that experience, and no longer had the experience to want to study anything except my Raj Yoga Sutras of Sri Patanjali, meditation, and that's all. And basically that's all I've done. Anything to do with service. Anything that doesn't have to do with service, I'm not interested. So again, keeping the mind clear, not to waste my life dabbling in all these hundreds and millions of courses that everybody tells me about. Do you want to do EFT? No, not interested. Do you want to do this? Not interested. Not interested. I found what I want. I love my life. That's what I wanted. Why would I do anything else? Do you see? And that makes you really very quiet. So when you sit down, you can enjoy your life. You can enjoy every minute of this earth. You can enjoy the trees, you can enjoy the literature, you can enjoy picking up a book and putting it down. You don't worry about those things. They're not important. And you just know that people, service to humanity is important. And then the mind becomes really quiet. And in the final stage, is called Nirodha. And this is what we're working with the 8 limbs of yoga to get into the final stage. And that stage is when there are not too many thoughts at all. Again, going back to modern language, the power of now. You just focus on now, now, now. But of course, because you live, there are times when the mind will be distracted, but you won't fuss about it, or you won't judge yourself. It's my mind, distracted, but you're still there. You're still solid. You're still peaceful. The mind can go crazy. Say, crazy mind. And sometimes I tell us that, I said, this morning my mind's a bit crazy. Did I tell you that? Ignore it. Don't judge it. Don't get angry with it. Don't fault it. It's just the mind. Sometimes the instrument is not that good, right? You play the piano, some days you play really well, some days you don't play so well. It's no big deal. The problem with yoga students, they make such a big deal of everything and so much judgment. And this is for me the worst part of yoga. When teachers start judging you because you don't meditate 2 hours a day, or you don't do this and you don't do that. That is so cruel. How is that human? We all make mistakes. And if we can't forgive those mistakes, and we can't encourage people that they can get better, and everybody can get better. And our job as teachers is to give people hope. And as human beings, to raise each other, not to put each other down, not to say I'm better than you, but come on, let's do this together. We can do it together. We'll have more fun. Anyway, if you go on holiday all alone, it can be a bit boring, but you go on holiday with somebody you love or some friends, it can be loads of fun, right? So raise each other, and this is the job. We have to, that's why we came to earth. This is our swadharma on earth. And then our other swadharma is your duty to life and humanity. And then the other duty we have is to ourselves and our connection to the divine. Because that's the mission. That's what all religions, traditions teach us, that we're all one in the end. It's called Advaita, they call it Vedanta, the end of all knowledge. They call it consciousness. My advice is always, keep it very simple up here. Keep it simple. Not too much drama. Don't complicate life. If there is a story happening that's dramatic in your life, try to look at it as if you're looking at somebody's life, even though it's happening in your life. Don't entangle yourself into that drama more. Watch it from a distance. Say, yeah, I'm going through this drama in my life. Doesn't need more drama. It doesn't need more drama. What it needs is more peace. How can I find a solution to make this more peaceful? Because when there's so much drama in your life, and you go more on this one and that one, and you tell more friends, and more friends talk about it, and it becomes more dramatic, and then your mind gets even worse and more sick. What have you done? You've just made it huge. You've made a mountain from a molehill. Because it is easy when you've got a molehill. Well, not that easy, actually. We have many molehills. But it's easier to get rid of a molehill than it is a mountain. So when the problem is small, don't make it big. Find a solution by making it simple. And how I did this with my life was thinking, what will give the most peace to those concerned, including myself? If it gives peace to everyone and not to me, it is not a solution. If it gives peace to me and not everybody else, it's not a solution. If it gives peace to me and everybody else is disappointed because they're selfish, then I'll follow my solution. Are you understanding it? Where's the other team coming from? And this is what the whole Bhagavad Gita is, right? They're coming from a place of selfishness. Don't buy into it. Then you have to fight for yourself. If they're coming from a place of love, then you find a solution in love. But even in their selfishness, you still look for a solution in love. Which means the only way you can do that is having peace within you. And the only time you can do that is when you've practiced with yourself. Practice with willpower. Asking yourself what other things you fear most. Looking at traumas in your life, forgiving them and letting them go. Going back to the past, those things that disturbed you, forgiving them, letting them go. Having the inspiration in your life to make it interesting. Add adventure. Have fun. You try something new. Don't always stick it to the old same thing. Life becomes stagnant. So, stagnant waters, what happens? Mosquitoes. Have running water? No mosquitoes. But still, clear waters run deep. You see? Paradox. Learn to see the paradox in life, not to judge them. What is poison for one person is nectar for the other one. What is nectar for one person is poison to the other one. Who's right and who's wrong? Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just the way we are. Do you understand? This is why you can't judge everybody with the same paintbrush, right? You can't. And this is what we fall into patterns of good, bad, wrong, right, according to the perception of our own mind. And then we're constantly unhappy because, as Lord Jesus said, judge and you will be judged. You judge, you will be judged. Watch it. Every time you criticize somebody, somebody will criticize you. Just watch it. It comes right back to you. So what do? You learn to watch. And this is what the meditation practice did for me, and I hope it does it for you. You learn to watch, but you stop blaming everybody else. You learn to watch what's happening internally. And then you clean up your act, you just clean it up. And it's the ego that always wants to be right. But I tell you, it's much better to be peaceful than to be right. So keep your life simple, easy, have some adventure once in a while. Stay away from people who make dramas of everything. Everywhere they go, there's trouble. There are people like that. Stay away from those kind of people. Even the scriptures say, stay away from those kind of people, because you'll be dragged into that energy field. Because that energy field is very powerful. It will drag you in, it'll suck you in. So live a beautiful, simple life. So as yogis, watch the progression. It doesn't happen overnight. Be patient. It takes years. But every time you conquer one weakness, you feel so good in yourself. I did it, yes. Go reward yourself, then go shopping. And become worldly, because you deserve it. But every time you do that, you like yourself more. Every time you feel compassion towards somebody else when they've done something wrong, you like yourself more because you realize there's no wrong. It's just everybody I know that tells me that they've done something bad, it's not that they have. If you look at their background, you can see where it's come from. Can really see where it's come from. So you just didn't know better. It's not your fault. You didn't know better. So now you know better, change it. Now you know better, change it. It's never too late, all right? And that's the message today.